Thank you all. Right before lunch, we have a short security briefing towards tomorrow, which will be heading down south by Lieutenant Colonel Richard, sorry, I just forgot your last name, Richard Hecht, the IDF spokesperson for the foreign media.
So I got the hardest mission of the day, to be the only person between you and your lunch. So how am I going to do this effectively? I want to tell you about my last 12 hours. I'm a bit distracted. I got woken up at 2 o'clock last night. We were in a night operation in Jenin, and tragically, there was a 16-year-old girl that got shot. You're probably seeing some of it in the media. The challenging aspect of that is, of course, Jenin being a hornet's nest, the IDF going in there because the PA isn't going in there. Thank you. The PA isn't going inside. Can you hear me? Good. So the PA isn't going inside. And the challenging aspect of it is also having the Undersecretary from the UN here this week for children and children's safety in conflict. So that's going to be a sort of big hot potato that we're going to have to deal with. My office is going to have to deal with in the next 24 hours. So the funny accent is because I'm a Glaswegian Jew, born and raised in Glasgow, came here as a kid. I'm the international spokesperson of the IDF. My name is Richard Hecht. Next slide, please. I have it here. Yes. I'm an immigrant. I was born and raised in Glasgow. My life before being reborn again in Israel as a kibbutznik in the Golan Heights. Lived in a kibbutz called El Rom. Full military service. Most of it was combat. I'm not a professional spokesperson. My profession is a soldier. And also I did foreign relations for the IDF and for the Air Force. A very, very substantial day. My last day in the Air Force was Royal Air Force jets landing in Ramat David Air Force Base in the north, named after David Lloyd George, by the way. The first time they landed there since 1948 on their way to attack ISIL targets in Syria. So when we talk about international cooperation stability, that's something I was involved with. I did time as a battalion commander all over Judea and Samaria. I did a little stint in the business world. Enjoyed the Abraham Accords, being in Abu Dhabi. An amazing, amazing time. And I just got called back to this job a few months ago. So what do we do? And I'm only going to give you the IDF perspective, okay? You heard a bigger perspective from the people here before me. What's my job? How do I define it to my leadership? So, in the end, when the IDF acts, we need legitimacy from the international sphere. That's all of it in a nutshell. And we have to build this during this infrastructure during our day-to-day operations. And I'll give you an example. This very smart general, Mickey Ederstein, the first time we found a tunnel in Gaza, it was a year before Protective Edge. We went on a campaign. It was building legitimacy because we knew that at some point we would have to go in and handle these tunnels. And we did a campaign bringing all the journalists to see these tunnels. Journalists and also State Department people, politicians, everyone. And we built legitimacy because we understood that at some point we'd have to go all out. When we go all out, we understand that it's very challenging in the international sphere, and we know that a phone call is going to come at some point. And basically, in a nutshell, my job is to give the IDF that window of legitimacy to act, if we need to act in order to defend the country. Very simple. I want to give you, again, because it's very short, I want to give you a few perspectives, also regional, and then we can talk about the Palestinian issue, which is, again, I regard them as two potatoes. This is the strategic hot potato, and we have also the tactical potato, which could turn strategic, which is the Palestinians. So, and you've talked today about Iran. I looked at your agenda. When we look at the region, what are the colors saying here? The colors are saying the Abraham Accords. There's been a change of the regional dynamic. What are these changes from the IDF or defense perspective? One, right now with the American military, we used to be under the command of European command in Europe because we were separated from the Arab countries. And now we are together with all the Arab countries in central command, which allows us as the IDF to cooperate with countries that we never used to cooperate before. Of course, the Gulf, the GCC countries, of course, Jordan and Egypt, which is legacy countries, but it's now more in the open. And basically, there's a common denominator against that Shia crescent that we see in the north. The Shia crescent, basically Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, of course, in the Gaza Strip, movement of capabilities, money, weapons, everything that you're seeing. Oh, by the way, there's another line that should go up north from the Iranians moving equipment also to Russia, which has changed the dynamic in the region. Again, I'm going through it very, very quickly, but just to give you a sort of picture where we are regionally right now with Iran. And it's a power competition. That's what it is. You're seeing it in the media. You're seeing a lot of stuff coming out in American media. It's something we're working with closely with the Americans. There's a term called power projection, where you'll see a B-52 from Central Command refueling an Israeli plane, and that's sort of projecting to the region that we're in this for serious. It's a serious business, looking at the Iranian threat. Into our backyard. So I want to give you just a quick touch on the Palestinian issue, and then my personal experience in Breaking Dawn, which was the mission that we had in August. So what do we see here? We see inside the Judea and Samaria Islamic Jihad, Hamas, trying to lift up their head. We know who's in Gaza, of course. From the IDF perspective, we always, and again, I'm going to go back to 2021. The IDF strategy was to differentiate between Judea and Samaria and Gaza, to create a bar. We said, okay, Gaza is a different phenomena. We have to handle the extremists there. Judea and Samaria, we still have the Oslo Accords in place, which basically said, we see a threat, the PEA, the Dayton forces, can go in and handle the threat. Last May, Ramadan, there was some unrest in the Damascus Gate, and basically due to the Palestinian Authority's weakness, Hamas took responsibility and said, we'll defend our brethren in Judea and Samaria. And because of the unrest inside Jerusalem, they started firing rockets. And they basically breached that disconnect that we were trying to do. That started off in May, and then we're seeing the Palestinian Authority from this line northbound, from the middle area, which is Nablus and Jenin. The Palestinian Authority are getting weaker. Ramallah, Bethlehem, the agreement is still in place. In Nablus, the PA have lost their sovereignty, and also in Jenin. So we are pointing and we're seeing Islamic Jihad activity. We're seeing ungoverned. We're seeing more guns coming into Jenin. We're seeing a lot of badness. On that time frame, from March 21, we're seeing it. We're pointing out to the PA, go and handle it, go and handle it. It's not happening. March 22, two treacherous attacks coming out of Jenin. The most notorious one was the Dizengoff Center in March. Raed Kazam walking into a bar in Dizengoff and killing 3 Israelis, just spraying his automatic rifle in a bar and killing Israelis, going out and having a few drinks. That's when we decide to basically, it's not another intifada. It's important that you frame it this way. We say, okay, we have to handle Jenin and Nablus. So the sound bites and the strategy are the following. 1, this is not the IDF going all out like we did in Protective Edge. These are burning coals that we go and put them out. 2, we say we're not fighting the Palestinian people. This is important to capture this. The crossings into Israel are open. Jalama is open, Salem is open, Ephraim is open. There's workers coming in and out. We're taking a risk here because we're saying we're not fighting the Palestinians. There's this new entity called the Lion's Den. Have you heard of this? An American journalist who thinks like he's Lawrence of Arabia spends a few weeks in Nablus and turns this guy into this new Palestinian hero, a guy called Nabulsi. By the way, he's using TikTok. The medium that these guys are using is TikTok, and it's basically saying we've had enough of the Palestinian Authority, we've had enough of Hamas, we're going to fight for our homes. And this is the sort of challenge that we've been dealing with since March. We've been going in every night to handle this because the PA haven't been handling it, and we're defending our civilians. In one of these events, of course, the tragic death of Mrs. Shireen Abu Akla. We also lost one of our senior officers, Noam Raz. And again, if you talk to some other militaries, you say, why are you endangering your soldiers? Do everything from the air. That's not how we do business. So that's, in a nutshell, the Palestinian issue. It's still unsure where it's going to go. There's a few other influencing factors. Abu Mazen is not a young boy. His legitimacy in the street is low. His potential successors from Fatah, their legitimacy is pretty low. And it's a concern, a major concern where it's going to go. There's a big gap also between us and the administration in the US. So we'll see. Breaking Dawn, I just want to give you, again, the nitty-gritty of how we do business. That's my job. So what happened here is, again, it's the same phenomena. We go in one night during these night events in Jenin, and we pick up a guy called Bassem al-Saadi. By the way, when you talk about messaging, it used to be PIJ, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. I don't call that anymore. We say Islamic Jihad. We pick up this guy, the Islamic Jihad in Gaza sees it as an opportunity and basically moves anti-tank crews towards their border and starts threatening to shoot the trains, to shoot the buses that are in the vicinity of Gaza. We have to close off all the Gaza Strip vicinity. No movement, nothing going to school. We're basically going to a 5-day siege. General Kochavi decides to take the initiative, and we basically say we go and take out one of their leaders inside the Gaza Strip. From the IDF perspective, after we took out this guy, Jabari, if the Islamic Jihad stood down, it would have been over. But they decided to basically start firing rockets. There was also some collateral damage. But I'll tell you how I handled it from the international perspective. In Israel, once a conflict starts, the Israeli public, I'm always thinking about my Moroccan mother-in-law, she wants to see the IDF all the time. Because we're a nation in PTSD, it's like your breakfast in this hotel. It's all you can eat. Gluttony. If I serve that meal to the international correspondents, they'll puke. Excuse my French. I have to serve a different meal altogether. And basically, I said to my team, let's not put anything right now out there. Let's keep a low profile. The whole international world, when this started, Nancy Pelosi was in Taiwan. Nobody was interested. I said to my team, let's get ready. When does the international media wake up? When Israel does a mistake. Let's focus and be ready for the first mistake. So at some point during the first day, when I'm seeing all these rockets, I start seeing failed launches. The Islamic Jihad are firing launches from within their population, and they're landing within Gaza. Just to give you what it looks like, so you can see here a salvo. We also made animations. Okay, this is what we were sending to CNN. And you can see here a failed launch. Landing inside Gaza. Boom. Now, at 9 o'clock, on the first day of combat, I get a message from the guy in charge of the Arab media. There's a carnage in Jabalia. The Israelis have killed 5 kids. Immediately, I get access to the footage. I get access to the radar picture from our radars. I'm an Air Force guy. And I basically have the data to come and say, it's a non-issue. And it gives us the advantage. It was basically capturing the narrative. Because I was focused on that issue, and I didn't do the all-you-can-eat meal, which is beating the drums, and I was focusing on the international media that will be looking for us to make a mistake and collateral damage. This is what we did. The radar picture, giving the picture to Fox News, who were helpful enough to take our infographic, and giving CNN the visuals from our cameras around Gaza. That was it. Done deal. Again, we have a lot of things that we do. We showed how we had an event where there were kids near a house, and we stopped one of our launches. And again, from the international perspective, although it wasn't that interesting for the Israeli public, the visual that I wanted at the end was one of my officers standing at the crossings into Gaza and saying, the war is over, Islamic Jihad are down, they're not threatening the crossings anymore, the fuel and food and commerce can open again. And that was the sort of picture that I wanted to put onto the social networks. So that's in a nutshell. I know everybody's hungry. I wanted to give you a sort of quick run through of where we are. I've got another challenging 24 hours. I invite you to follow us on the networks. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'll pass after that to Mr. Chen, our link tree, and I invite you all to support us. Thank you very much.